Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to the third episode of my weekly Q&A videos that I am doing. I am sorry that I took a bit of a hiatus. I have either in the past 6 weeks I've had friends visiting, or I have had some certification or seminar weekend, or I was traveling. Then it was Thanksgiving, so a ton of excuses, but it's crazy like 2 week span or 2 month span, but I'm really excited to be back again. I've had a ton of questions. I've been dying to answer them, so I'm really excited to be starting that. I also make sure I will be posting it. I'm going to be doing an Instagram live next week, I think on Tuesday, with my friend who lives in Texas, who is also a nutrition coach. So I will be doing that. We're going to make it live. I'll post everything, but keep it in your back of your head so you have time that evening to tune in. I also realized that I was doing Instagram wrong. So when I was posting all these questions to ask you guys, I thought I was going to get a notification when someone responded to a question or to answered a question or had a question for me. Turns out you actually have to go to your Instagram, like archived story, look at the questions, and like go to this random part to find actually the questions. So I thought for a while I wasn't ever getting any questions and I was getting really bummed out. Turns out that a lot of people were asking me questions. I just wasn't seeing them. So I probably have like 2 or 3 weeks worth of questions saved up. Hopefully, I'm going to get through as many of them as possible. If not, I will be saving them for next week. Maybe going in my Instagram live or in my other Q&A video that I'll be starting to do every week. So without really any other further ado, I'm going to get started on all of my questions to answer. The first question is, why does muscle, I have it on a computer so I can, because there was like 15 questions and I can't remember all of those and I didn't want to write them all down. Why does muscle mass not always equal lifting ability and vice versa? So this person and I talked about it a while so I can actually understand this question because it's kind of complex. So basically, why is it that like just because someone looks strong or has a ton of muscle mass, why does that not equal stronger lifting numbers? So why can they, maybe they can't squat as much? If you look at me versus, actually, it's a pretty good example. There's some women that are smaller than me. I carry way more muscle, but they are like 15 times stronger than I am. There's some women at the CrossFit Games that aren't as big as I am, or even in the CrossFit Games, like some of the smaller women are, and not as muscular women, are stronger than the other ones. So like Tia Claire Toomey, she's a good example. She's not big by any means. She's, I think, only like 120 some pounds. Yet she has some of the strongest numbers. And I mean, she's jacked for sure, but she definitely isn't as big size wise. So, kind of why does that happen? There is a ton of things to answer this question. Training is the first one that answers that question. So, I mean, size or your how you look aesthetically doesn't equate lifting ability. There is genetics that go into that. I'll get in a second, but it's kind of how you train. So if you train for explosive movements, you're going to be good at explosive movements. A lot of times, people who look like bodybuilders or bodybuilders in general aren't as strong. They've just isolated moving well and isolated that muscle type in an exercise to make it grow and stand out. There are some people that are definitely more, quote unquote, jacked than I am because they do bodybuilding type exercises. But if you were having us like squat or deadlift, I would probably have like I'd be twice as strong as they are. But aesthetically looking at me, you wouldn't tell because I don't look as jacked. So that's the first one. Another is just kind of genetics and again, how you've trained your entire life. So being strong relates to type of your muscle fibers. So fast twitch versus slow twitch. very struggling to say that. So people with fast twitch fibers, muscle fibers, are going to be better at like running, sprinting, stuff like that, explosive things. So they're going to be good at lifts. People with more slow twitch fibers, they're going to be better at endurance um, exercises and workout routines. So I am much better at endurance exercises. I can run, like if you have me run 400 meters versus a 10K, my pace is going to be the exact same. Cannot sprint to save my life. I can sprint like 200 meters from like my soccer days, but that's it. I'm also really good at the workouts in CrossFit that are like 30 minutes long because I can just pick a pace and stay there because I probably have a ton of slow, like a higher concentration of slow twitch muscle fibers. Same thing, that's why, I played soccer my entire life. I had to train and develop in a way that let me maintain that effort for 90 minutes to 2 hours when you factor in warm up and halftime and everything like that. So I've developed over time more slow twitch fibers. Someone who is explosive in nature, maybe a sprinter, they have more fast twitch muscle fibers. So they're able to be more explosive and maybe make up for their lack of maybe they don't have as much muscle, but all of the muscle they do have is fast twitch. They're going to be more explosive, better at some of these explosive movements, like doing a 1 rep. So just because you have more muscle mass doesn't mean you're going to be stronger. It really just depends on how you train. Usually the people who are bodybuilders are those that are not quote unquote strong, because what they do is they go for the pump. When you're doing that, like in hypertrophy training, you're doing usually a lot of high reps to get that pump, send blood flow to the muscle so it can grow. You're not just doing like a 1 rep. Olympic weightlifters usually are not the most jacked, but they definitely are the ones that can lift an absurd amount of weight from the ground. But they don't train bodybuilder style. They train in explosive movements. They train box jumps, squats, deadlifts. They're training the pull, the transition, and then standing up from the bar or maybe pressing it overhead. They're not training, okay, I want my bicep to look this way. So that kind of answers that question. The next question that I have is CBD oil. So this person was asking, what are my thoughts on CBD oil? I absolutely love CBD oil. I do use it. I grew up with kind of a little bit, I wouldn't say sheltered, but I definitely grew up with a mindset. I didn't drink in high school. Had my first drink when I was with my mom in France at 18, had a glass of wine. So I didn't do drugs or anything like that. And so I kind of grew up with this, like the stigma with weed and marijuana. And when I found out about CBD oil, when I was actually getting certified to get my nutrition certification, this company was sponsoring the weekend, and they were a CBD oil company. And so I ended up talking to the CEO, who is the coolest dude ever. CBD oil can do so much, especially and when you're getting it from a reputable company, especially nowadays. CBD oil is more regulated than the supplement market. Because there's such a stigma to it, they have to ensure that it is pure, THC free, you name it. It has to be good. In this company, it's Cured Nutrition, based in Colorado. They're some great people, and they make a really good product. And because there's such a stigma with CBD, they have to go through way more hoops and everything just to sell their product, whereas like a supplement company doesn't have to go through any sort of regulation, red tape, anything like that. So if you're getting CBD and it is from a reputable company, they have gone through extensive regulations to, show that it is a good and safe product. But there's several ways to use CBD. Basically, CBD is, just for those who don't know, it's a cannabinoid that is from the hemp plant. It's just one component of the hemp plant. So in a hemp plant, it comes with tons of CBDs or cannabinoids, has some terpenes in there, and THC, which THC is the active component that gets you high. It has all of the associative effects of when you smoke weed or do whatever to get high. That's THC. CBD, so when you get high, according to people I actually don't know, when you get high, you have that calming effect, which is why a lot of people do love it. And that's why people do want it to be legalized, because of the calming nature. Then there's other sides of it with the THC, but CBD in itself has that calming effect. So it reduces, CBD acts on your pain receptors, and you do have cannabinoid receptors in your brain that respond to CBD oil coming into your body, and it reduces pain and inflammation. So a lot of people will do it when they're working out. Post-workout, people will take some CBD to help some of the inflammation that was created recently. And this is what I love about the company Cured that I use. They use it for anxiety and depression. Mostly with anxiety and with stress. They aren't trying to replace antidepressants by any means, but a lot of people have anxiety and stress, and CBD oil is a great way to combat that. So that's what I use CBD oil for: anxiety and for stress and for sleeping. Before I started taking CBD oil, I was waking up like 3 or 4 times a night, constantly stressed. My resting heart rate was like 65 when I would wake up, and as soon as I started taking it, I went down to like 55 because I was just a lot calmer and felt a lot better. I don't take it every day. I took it a lot when I first found it because it was so amazing, but then I wanted to, I'm all about, trying to find the root cause of things. So if I'm stressed, what is the cause of my stress? I'm not just trying to like mask it with CBD oil. That is the only thing with it, is like try not to use it as a band-aid. But a lot of times, like, there's a lot of things people are saying about CBD oil of you're not going down to the root problem. But when it comes to anxiety and stress, sometimes, especially this was true in my case, you can't figure out the root cause because the anxiety and stress is just in the way and preventing you from seeing past that. So the nice thing with CBD is it shows if it does work for you. At least this is what happened for me. It actually showed me what it is like to have reduced levels of stress and anxiety. So I was able to put other things into practice that reduced my levels of stress and anxiety to mimic the effects of CBD. So I found that I wasn't sleeping well, so I started to do things. CBD helped me sleep. That in itself helped a ton, and so I started realizing, okay, what am I doing to not sleep? I was using my phone until like 10 o'clock, so I stopped using my phone past 9. I stopped eating past 8 or 9. I stopped eating as much sugar. I started doing a lot of things that helped mimic the effects. So the CBD was really good to show me what it is like on the other side. When you're in that position, it is really hard to see the other side. There are some things that CBD does reduce levels of testosterone or estrogen. A lot of these were done in mice, and the CEO of Cured, he actually was on a podcast. He does have a podcast, so I would definitely recommend checking it out. But he has a podcast, and he was on a podcast that I was listening to, and he actually did go through testosterone replacement therapy, so TRT, and he takes CBD oil, and he takes a decent amount of it, and he regulates and checks his testosterone levels regularly, and he doesn't see any notable decrease. So something to keep in the back of your mind, but if you don't notice a difference, you're probably fine. It doesn't give you the munchies, it doesn't make you high, it just has that calming effect. The other usage of CBD, which I haven't tried, I do have some samples that I am waiting to try, are topical treatments. This is basically like putting icy hot or the tiger ointment, menthol ointment on like a sore body part or something. So if my shoulders are sore, I can rub it on my shoulder and it's going to be absorbed directly to the skin and actually affect. It's going to be a local effect on that muscle group or that body part that is causing you pain. I personally haven't used it yet. I'm about to. I just got a sample 2 days ago, so I will keep you guys updated on that one. But with how I feel when I take CBD oil, you can take it sublingually. That's what I do. It helps a ton, so I will let you know how the topical treatments go. I would expect, for me, definitely they do work. The thing with Cured that I also love is they have made it kind of like edibles. So they've incorporated it into spices, CBD into spices. So you can cook with your foods, you can season your foods and have some CBD in there. So it's kind of like a low grade, constant dosage of CBD, not a high dosage. You can also do like sublingual drops, which are going to be way higher dosings, but kind of just depends on your cup of tea. And all the dosing is really just independent to the person and the individual. So for me, I'm a hyper responder, so I don't need that much. People can take I can respond to like 250 milligrams, and some people need 1,000. I found that when I went up to like 500 or even 1,000 milligrams, that I was kind of getting the opposite effect, and it wasn't really working. So I tapered myself back down to like that 250 working amount. You can't OD on it. I stopped also, I kind of reduced and brought down my intake just so I could save money because it is kind of expensive. So if 250 milligrams works for me, then I'm going to do that, not waste that extra 250 to make it 500 so I can actually save some money. So if you have any other questions about CBD, definitely send me a message. I'm happy to talk about it. It's completely safe. I was anti CBD for the longest time because of some personal feelings I do have on marijuana usage. So I was completely convinced by the owner or the CEO of this company, and I absolutely love it, and I completely recommend it. The next question is, are you single? The answer to that is no. Next question is, why did you leave 239 Ashley? I answered this on my story, but this actually has a funny story. This isn't related to nutrition, but it was kind of funny, and I made a comment about it on my Instagram story. So if you didn't see it, I left 239 Ashley. So I lived at 239 Ashley Avenue is my address in Charleston, downtown. I lived there for 2 years while I was in grad school, and I absolutely loved it. I had 2 roommates at all times. When I left, I had 2 roommates. One of my roommates had 2 dogs. So I mean, it was like a tight space. It's 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. Pretty tiny, had 2 dogs, and it was awesome. And I ended up moving into my own space. And so my old roommate, John, was asking, why did I leave? And so the answer was because he would, every Friday and Saturday night when he would drink, he would stand outside my room screaming my name, trying to wake me up. Because his first night that he moved in, he went out with his friends, and he came back and made like crazy amounts of noise, and I slept through the entire thing. The next day he was like, I'm so sorry, if I understand if I upset you or pissed you off, whatever. Like, I think he came home, he spilled some stuff, he turned the TV on, he was yelling, whatever, and I slept through the whole thing. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I can sleep through pretty much everything. And he was like, there's no way. And I was like, yeah. And so it became a game to see like what would wake me up. And he never was able to, but he would apparently stand outside of my door every single night he was, out drinking, and was screaming to wake me up. And it never worked. So I guess it never really bothered me, but that's why I said that I moved out. In reality, I moved out because I was starting a business and I kind of wanted space to work and have my own space. So that is the real reason. But yeah, I can sleep through everything. I lived in college next to a railroad track, and I also lived kind of amongst the frat corner. So there were like one, two, three, four, five, six or so fraternities and sororities around my place. And if I wanted to ever get any sleep, I kind of had to learn to just sleep through it, which eventually screwed me because I have slept through fire alarms. I've slept through I can sleep through almost anything. And it saved me when my roommate was constantly waking me up, but it has caused me problems in the past. So in the next question, I had asked previously on Instagram, what are some things that you struggle with? And so there were two comments. One was rice and noodles, and the other was pizza. And kind of how do you make them part of your diet when they're not allowed and they're quote unquote bad foods? I eat rice almost every single day. Rice is so good for you. Noodles also completely fine for you. The idea is that you're going to have balance. And if you do follow a macro-based plan, the nice thing with flexible dieting and flexible nutrition is that you can maintain a healthy diet 80-90% of the time, and you can use that 10 to 20% on things like ice cream or rice or noodles or anything like that. We don't have to be afraid of carbohydrates. They're pretty good for you, especially when you do work out. We do not have to be afraid of them. A lot of times people say that they gain weight for them. It's likely because something else is wrong and they aren't eating the right stuff. If noodles are making you overweight, you're likely also not eating enough protein, and your body is just kind of fighting you. So I would really check and be like, what are you eating? What's your daily intake? And let me know what it is. And if you're still struggling with it, like, let's have the conversation and get you to where you're able to eat pasta on occasion. I love pasta. I eat it like a couple times a month, especially days that I'm falling behind on my macros. I, have a huge bowl of pasta that's like 100 grams of carbs, and it helps me a ton. I eat like 300 grams of carbs a day, so sometimes I need help getting to that number. Definitely eat rice. Don't have to be afraid of that. The only thing, if you have a gluten allergy, you do have to be concerned with noodles. Keep it whole grain or gluten free if you do have a gluten allergy. If you don't have a gluten allergy, eat whole grain. It's going to be better for you. But other than that, you're fine. Same thing with pizza. You can fit pizza within your macros. Like in MyFitnessPal, you can pull up like Domino's full pizza or slice of pizza, and factor that in to actually hit your macros. Or if you don't have pizza, but every other day, or not every other day, don't have pizza every other day, but every other week or even like month or something, have the pizza. You're fine. You're not gonna gain weight just by having a slice or even a whole thing of pizza. You're totally fine. The idea is that you're maintaining everything up until that point. So, one day isn't going to derail you. And what you want to do is make sure those days that you're quote unquote staying on point, you're not starving yourself. So that's the thing, is like a lot of people are like, oh, but I feel like I lose all my progress when I have that one piece of pizza or that one whole pizza or something. If that is the case, something else definitely is wrong, and you're not doing something to give you that wiggle room. So a lot of the times, if you're in a chronically starved state, when you do splurge like that, your body is just dying to have some of that food and those calories, that once you finally give in, it either sends signals out, keep doing that, and that's why you quote unquote fall off the wagon, or you uncontrollably binge, or you gain weight instantly. It's because you're not actually fueling yourself those other 80-90% of the time. So make sure 90% of the time you're hitting a good intake. And by intake, it's, you know, find out what you can do a simple Google search of what your BMR is. That is the calories that it takes for you to purely survive. So, how many calories did it take? How many calories does your body need simply to exist at rest? Like right now, I'm expending other calories that doesn't include my BMR. BMR includes heart beating, you know, peeing, going to the bathroom, liver functioning, kidneys working, brain working, you breathing. But we obviously do a ton more than that. That includes we walk, we exercise, everything. So if you're eating below your BMR, you're not eating to survive, and you should bring your food up considerably. And that's if you're eating below your BMR, which is basal metabolic rate, which is just your basic metabolism at rest. You definitely should add a little bit more. If you're eating below that and you're then splurging on pizza and having negative results from that, it's because you're just chronically starving yourself all other times. So, you know, get that intake up so you can enjoy stuff like that. But back to the, with the rice, noodles, and pizza comment, that's something that you want to have, something like that, quote unquote, every day. Definitely shouldn't be doing that. That is way too much. Find healthy alternatives. So, if you want to have pasta, trick your brain into thinking that you are, opt it for spaghetti squash, or get a spiralizer, or even just go to the grocery store, buy spiralized vegetables. I'm releasing my recipe book soon. I have a recipe in there for beet pasta. It has oranges, kale, a vinaigrette with pork. It's really, really good. No, it is not pasta, but it is spiralized to look like pasta, and it could trick your brain, give you that sense of like, oh, I'm having pasta, when in reality you're just giving yourself vegetables, which are good for you anyways. All right, I have like 3 minutes, so I'm just going to answer one more question. So this question is very common and something that I did struggle with for a long time. So friends are going out to eat, drink, everything. You want to go, you want to be social, but you don't want to drink. What do you do and not be awkward? You don't have to go to the restaurant and be like, oh, I need to have water because I'm not drinking. Talk, either volunteer to be the DD. I actually made a post about this recently. Volunteer to be the DD. Like, that's going to save you a bunch when you go to or, if you're Ubering and you don't want to waste your car, or gas on your car, when you go, tell the bartender that you're the DD, or just ask for club soda and lime. You can also just get one drink, sip it slowly, and then just get club soda and lime. Some people do know, my senior year that I had a health reason, where I had to eliminate alcohol, and I couldn't drink alcohol for like 6 months to a year. Even now, I'm still dealing with a lot of the repercussions from that. I cannot have a lot of alcohol because I will be at risk of dying, and we don't want that to happen. So I actually do have to. I don't also like using that as an excuse. I don't want to say like, oh yeah, this is why I can't have alcohol. But I had to learn, my senior year of college, when everyone is drinking, I had to learn ways to make it look like I was drinking, so I didn't have to deal with explaining it. And that's the hardest part. And you don't have to. You just have to figure out how. I always made sure I had a cup in my hand, no matter what. If I have a cup in my hand, people aren't going to ask questions. If it's clear and bubbly, you can't really say that it's not vodka or gin and tonic or anything like that. So, that's going to be my recommendation. Your friends will understand. I will occasionally go to my hangout with my friends and I won't drink. They'll ask me why, and I'll, say I'm just not in the mood. I got a big day tomorrow. I've had a really long week. I just kind of want to get some sleep and not have to deal with it. Sometimes I'll go and I'll just have one drink, and I'll make that drink, I'll sip on it, and I'll, make it last. And if your friends, berate you for not having 5 drinks, or they, make fun of you that you're gonna like alternate between club soda and lime and alcohol, just call them out on it. Just be like, that's that's not my value. I don't want to do it anymore. If that doesn't work, just find new friends. I'm just kidding. You don't have to do that. I coincidentally did that when I moved to Charleston, but it's definitely possible. You know, I find if you just be honest with your friends and, you know, just stick to your guns and give yourself the flexibility, you know, it'll make it work. When you're going to house situations, you know, just say that you're bringing your own drinks and mix them, and you'll be good to go. They don't know how much alcohol is in it, or anything like that. If you do want to drink, definitely just stick to like liquor, lime, and soda water. That's going to be your healthiest option, to let you kind of enjoy it, but without having to deal with either the sugar hangover or the regular alcohol hangover. So hopefully that answered your question. Next week, I have a ton of questions I'm going to answer. A lot of them involve training for marathons. That's one question. Another is how to kind of, I'll elaborate a little bit more on eating healthy in social situations. And then I'll make sure I get other questions from you guys. Another is how to work out if you are a runner. So how to, you know, do resistance training and weight training as a runner. So if you've asked those questions and I didn't answer them today, I will answer them next time. But without anything else, that's all I got for you guys today. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys next week.